Most emergency room nurses will tell you the same thing. The scariest moments don't happen during chaos. They happen during silence. At 2:14 a.m., when the waiting room is empty and the fluorescent lights hum like distant insects, something was wheeled into Mercy Ridge Medical Center in rural Pennsylvania. There was no ambulance siren, no intake paperwork. And by sunrise, every trace of it had been erased. Mercy Ridge isn't the kind of hospital you see on television. It sits between forested hills and an aging highway, where tractor trailers pass like slow-moving shadows. The ER has 8 bays, 2 trauma rooms, and a staff small enough that everyone knows each other's coffee orders. On October 17th, 2019, the overnight shift felt uneventful. Nurse Alana Torres had been working emergency medicine for 11 years. She was steady-handed, practical, and deeply skeptical of hospital ghost stories. She believed in charting accuracy, sterile fields, and the smell of antiseptic over superstition. At 2:12 a.m., the ambulance bay doors slid open, but no ambulance had called ahead. The security desk radio remained silent. 2 men in dark paramedic uniforms entered, pushing a gurney. Their jackets had no county insignia, no hospital partnership patch, just black fabric and reflective stripes. On the stretcher lay a middle-aged man, mid-40s, gray hoodie, blood dried along his temple, eyes closed, breathing slow and shallow. "What county are you with?" Alana asked automatically as she snapped on gloves. "Private transport," one of the men replied without meeting her eyes. "Where's your run sheet?" "We'll fax it." They pushed the gurney into Trauma Bay 3. Alana felt it immediately. The subtle wrongness. No dispatch notification, no registration, no ID band. She began her assessment anyway. Airway clear, pulse faint but steady. Skin cold to the touch, though the room was warm. "Sir, can you hear me?" she asked. His eyelids fluttered, and then opened. His pupils were fully dilated, but not unfocused. They locked onto her face with intense clarity. "You shouldn't document me," he whispered. The cardiac monitor beeped steadily beside them. "What happened to you?" she asked calmly, checking his head wound. "They followed the transfer." "Who followed you?" He swallowed. "They move you if you talk too much." The monitor glitched. The steady rhythm became erratic static. Alana glanced at the screen. Flatline. But she could feel his pulse under her fingers. Strong. Steady. She checked the leads. Everything was attached properly. The screen continued to display no heartbeat. The oxygen saturation number blinked. 98%, then 0%, then blank. A cold sensation crept up her spine. Dr. Mitchell Reeves, the attending physician, entered moments later. "What do we have?" he asked briskly. "Unidentified male, head trauma, monitor malfunction," Alana replied. Dr. Reeves stepped closer. "Sir, can you state your name?" The patient turned his head slowly toward the doctor. His expression shifted. Recognition, not relief. Fear. "You work with them," the patient murmured. Dr. Reeves stiffened slightly. "Who?" he asked. The overhead lights flickered once. The patient's grip tightened around the bed rail. "The basement doesn't exist," he said. "That's what they tell people." Alana felt a pulse of unease ripple through her chest. Mercy Ridge had no public access basement. Officially. Dr. Reeves gave her a look. "Sedate," he said quietly. "He's stable," she replied. "Sedate." The tone wasn't urgent. It was controlled. Alana prepared the medication. The patient's eyes locked onto hers as she injected it. "They'll erase this," he whispered. "They always do." His body relaxed within seconds. Monitors returned to normal display. Dr. Reeves exhaled slowly. Chart unidentified male. Possible psychosis. But he charted. He left the room. Alana finished documenting the intake. She entered the time. 2:18 a.m. Chief complaint. Unknown trauma. While printing wristbands, the system froze. Screen flickered, then reset to login. Her chart was gone. She re-entered the system. No active patient in Trauma Bay 3. Her stomach tightened. She walked back into the room. The bed was empty. No patient, no fourth line, no blood on the sheets. Just freshly folded linen like the room had never been used. Her breath caught in her throat. She stepped into the hallway. "Where did Trauma 3 go?" she asked another nurse. "Trauma 3's been empty all night," the nurse replied casually. "No, the male patient. Head wound." The nurse frowned. "There hasn't been a male patient since midnight." Alana felt her heartbeat pounding in her ears. She checked the whiteboard. No record. She checked the triage log. No record. Security footage was reviewed the next morning. From 2 a.m. to 2:40 a.m., the camera covering the ambulance entrance showed nothing entering. No paramedics, no gurney, no patient. In Trauma Bay 3, the cameras showed Alana standing alone beside an empty bed for 17 minutes, administering medication into air, speaking to no one. She watched the footage in silence. Her own movements looked careful, focused, precise. But there was no patient, no equipment attached to anyone, just her hands hovering over empty space. Administration placed her on administrative leave pending evaluation. Dr. Reeves submitted a statement saying she appeared fatigued. 2 weeks later, maintenance quietly sealed the access corridor near the hospital's lower storage level. Officially, it was structural repairs. Unofficially, staff began whispering. Years earlier, Mercy Ridge had been investigated over unregistered clinical trials conducted during a financial crisis. Rumors circulated in local forums about undocumented transfers and sealed-off treatment rooms. Nothing was ever proven. Alana attempted to obtain the internal review report. She was denied access. 3 months later, Dr. Reeves resigned unexpectedly. No announcement, no farewell gathering. Just gone. Alana hasn't returned to emergency medicine since. She says what disturbed her most wasn't the missing patient. It was the feeling, the absolute certainty that the man on that stretcher was real. And that somewhere beneath Mercy Ridge Medical Center, there is a floor plan that doesn't match the one given to the public. That was the detail that wouldn't leave Alana alone. She tried to tell herself it was stress, sleep deprivation, the mind filling gaps where logic failed. But every time she closed her eyes, she saw the man's face. Pale under fluorescent lights, pupils wide, voice barely above a breath. The basement doesn't exist. Mercy Ridge did, in fact, have a lower level. Officially, it was mechanical storage, HVAC systems, backup generators, supply overflow. Staff access only. Unofficially, no one she knew had ever been down there. 3 nights after her suspension began, Alana drove back to the hospital. She didn't plan to go inside. She told herself she just needed to see the building, to prove it still looked normal, solid, real. The parking lot was mostly empty. Only a few cars from overnight staff dotted the asphalt. She sat there for 10 minutes. Then she noticed something. An elevator light glowing on the far side of the building. The service entrance. Her access badge had been deactivated, but she still had her old mechanical key, the one issued years ago for supply closets. Her hands trembled slightly as she approached the side door. It opened. Inside, the hospital at night felt different when you weren't on shift. Colder, quieter, the hum of machinery louder without human voices to dilute it. She avoided the ER entrance. Instead, she walked toward the service elevator. It required badge access, but the stairwell beside it did not. The stairwell descended below the main floor. A sign read, "Authorized personnel only." Her heartbeat began to thud heavily in her chest. This was stupid. If someone caught her, she would lose her license entirely. But the memory of the footage, her hands injecting nothing, gnawed at her. She opened the door. The air changed immediately. Cooler, thicker, industrial, concrete walls, exposed pipes overhead, emergency lighting strips casting faint red illumination along the corridor. At the bottom of the stairs, she saw it. A hallway extending further than she expected. She had memorized the hospital's public layout over years of working there. This corridor wasn't on it. At the far end, a door, unmarked. Her footsteps echoed softly as she approached. The door had no handle, just a keycard panel. She exhaled sharply, of course. She turned to leave, and froze. Behind her, faintly down the corridor, came the sound of rolling wheels, metal wheels, slow, deliberate. Her blood ran cold. That sound, the gurney. She didn't turn immediately. Her body refused. The wheels grew louder, closer. She forced herself to look. The hallway was empty. But the sound continued, rolling, then stopping, right behind her. She spun around fully. Nothing. Her breath became shallow. The emergency lights flickered once, and in that flicker, for less than a second, she saw it. A stretcher positioned directly behind her. The same gray hoodie. The same pale face. Eyes open, watching. The lights stabilized. The hallway was empty again. Her pulse pounded violently in her ears. "This isn't real," she whispered. From somewhere above her, faint through concrete and pipes, she heard something else. A monitor beep. Steady, regular. She slowly turned back toward the unmarked door. The keycard panel glowed green. It hadn't been green before. The door clicked, unlocked. She didn't remember swiping anything. Her hand shook as she pushed it open. Inside was a small clinical room. Not storage, not mechanical. A fully operational treatment space. Bed, monitors, IV poles, cabinet drawers labeled with medical supplies. And on the wall, a screen displaying patient records. Her breath hitched. She stepped closer. One active file glowed at the top. Unidentified mail transfer protocol. Active clearance, internal timestamp, 2:13 a.m., 3 nights ago. She scrolled. The file listed vitals, accurate vitals, the exact numbers she remembered. It wasn't erased, it was moved. A sound behind her. She turned slowly. Dr. Mitchell Reeves stood in the doorway. His expression wasn't angry, it wasn't surprised, it was tired. "You weren't supposed to come down here," he said quietly. Her voice trembled. He was real. Dr. Reeves stepped inside and closed the door behind him. "Yes," he replied. Silence stretched between them. Who was he? She demanded. The doctor ran a hand down his face. There are patients who can't be processed normally, he said. Federal contracts, research transfers, psychological evaluations tied to classified programs. Her stomach churned. That's illegal. It's funded. She stared at him. They told you I imagined it. They had to. Why me? Because you hesitated. She felt the weight of that. You didn't sedate immediately, he continued. You asked questions. The monitor on the wall suddenly beeped. The active file changed. Status: relocated. Alana looked at him. Relocated where? Dr. Reeves didn't answer. Instead, the lights flickered, harder this time. The monitor screen went black. In the darkness, she heard it again, the rolling wheels. But this time, they weren't behind her. They were inside the room. She couldn't see, but she could feel it. A presence. Close. A breath near her ear. You shouldn't document me, a whisper repeated. The lights snapped back on. The room was empty except for her and Dr. Reeves. But the bed was dented, as if someone had just been lying there. Dr. Reeves's composure cracked. He stared at the indentation. That's not possible, he muttered. The monitor powered back on. New status: discharged. Alana slowly backed toward the door. You said this was controlled. It is, he said, though his voice lacked certainty. The overhead speakers crackled. Then a calm, automated voice echoed through the small room. Transfer complete. The indentation on the bed slowly rose, flattened, as if whatever had been there was no longer confined. Dr. Reeves stepped backward. For the first time, genuine fear crossed his face. The hallway lights outside flickered violently. Somewhere upstairs, alarms began blaring. Not fire alarms, equipment alarms, monitors failing, systems glitching. The same way they had in Trauma Bay 3. Alana realized something chilling. It hadn't been about erasing him. It had been about containing him. And something had just been released. She ran, up the stairwell, out into the night air. Behind her, Mercy Ridge's emergency lights flashed red and white. The next morning, local news reported a temporary systems failure at the hospital. No injuries, no explanation. 2 months later, Mercy Ridge permanently closed its lower mechanical level due to structural instability. No public acknowledgement of any clinical space. Alana filed a formal complaint with the state medical board. The investigation was sealed. Dr. Reeves resigned within the week. To this day, Alana wakes up at exactly 2:13 a.m. Sometimes her phone screen lights up. No notification. Just a single line of text appearing briefly before disappearing. Transfer complete. She doesn't work in hospitals anymore. But sometimes, when she drives past Mercy Ridge at night, she swears she sees a gurney through the basement window, waiting. This story is inspired by documented accounts of hospital system data corruption incidents, urban legends surrounding restricted clinical trials in U.S. facilities, and multiple nurse forum testimonies discussing unregistered patients and administrative suppression of chart discrepancies. No verified public evidence confirms a case identical to this narrative. But similar rumors and internal audit reports have circulated in healthcare worker communities.